Not connecting very well. Okay, hopefully it will work. Eineg Gaguyim Ganuni. There's my avant-garde Hebrew poetry, my first one. I like the sounds of the word. It's onomatopoeic. The word Gaguyim has like the sound of Gaga in it. What does it mean? This yearning. Good morning. Like the yearning of a child for his parent, like a baby. Gaguyim. It has the word Gaga in it. Gaguyim. So I couldn't resist. And I want to talk about my home, my garden, my sister, my bride. It's the same idea. My sister, my bride is like an oxymoron. What kind of relevance is sister to bride? And are they two levels? You have Ichui Alexandria. The word aches in Hebrew for sister is a unity that's described of the a mesh that's used to bind a tear in a garment. Ichui Alexandria. It's a way to stitch, or mend rather. It's a unity. The word ache, sister, has to do with a unity that takes two opposite sides of things that have torn separate and binding it again. That's the concept of sister. My bride is a kala in Hebrew. Kala melashon kiloyan. Kiloyan has two meanings. One, to be destroyed, burnt up, and one, a bride, like klesa nefesh. The idea of klesa nefesh is soul expiration, so it's more associated. So you have kilayan, destruction. Good morning. We're talking about the word kala. Melashon chaloyan, to devour. To devour and to have klesa nefesh, soul exploration. It's the same idea. Okay, so we have my sister, my bride. I'm actually not talking about those concepts today. I just wanted to introduce Basi Lagani, which we're preparing for YUD SHVAT, the day that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe was nostalgic, and the day the Rebbe took the leadership the night following, on Yud Aleph. The Rebbe is all about 11. The 11th chapter of Basi Lagani speaks about victory. And the Rebbe teases it at that, and this year, the 10th, Vasirati Kodesh. The 10th are holy. So the Rebbe cites that here. I hope I said that, I'm just looking for the verse. But Basi Lagani is what YUD SHVAT is all about. The Rebbe laid out his MO right on the first day. What did he want to do? Basi Lagani. He's all about Dirba Tachtenim, the dwelling place in the lowest possible realm. In other words, to take the unity of God and bring it everywhere, even the lowest. Basi Lagani, I've come to my garden. So are you at home in your garden? Your garden, Ganuni, the private chamber, the bridal chamber. The king goes out to the bridal chamber, it says. Ganuni means the place where you feel at home most. You're in your gazebo. Ganuni sounds a bit like gazebo. Your garden means you're like gazebo in the most beautiful environment. So that where God is in his garden means that he's in his place of desire. When you become the Lady Gaga. What a horrible mnemonic I just made there. But so Lady Gaga has both these ideas, the innocence of my sister and a baby, the sound of Gaga, and Lady, the idea of bride. Chesi Kala. And, okay, so I'm not going to speak about that right now, like what it means in Avodas Hashem. But that's the idea of this type of environment when you're so at home is described in Shir Shirim and then became the staple, the banner of the Rebbe's leadership. So we learned Basi Lagani. This year we learned the 10th chapter. It's actually from a second Maimar. There's 3 Maimarim the previous Rebbe gave out. The first one to be given out the day that he ended up passing away. So it's words got tremendous significance, and the Rebbe used it as his launch pad for his entire leadership. So the second mimer, I think, was given on Purim time, and it's also Shir Shirim. It's that the angels come to hear you speak. Hayesheves beganim, the one who sits in gardens. What does it say? That they listen to your voice. What is it? Here. Leaning Hayesheves beganim. כשהוא פזור וגאלה וראיה בגנים של אחרים, על ידי זה מברנס וניצוצס שבגלס, דוגמס מנצלו אס מצרים. So, in order to bring God into the garden, you have to do the Avodah. You have to accomplish the idea of what the Jewish people were learning about in Parashat Shmos, the Jewish people that came down to Egypt. What did they do? They went in there as Reuven and Shimon, and they went out with the same names. They came in, they came, they saw, they conquered. Okay? And what did they do? They emptied Egypt. V'yinatzlu es Mitzrayim. They emptied it. This is the Avodah of Birurim, of refining the world. You go into a place and you conquer and you take the spoils with you. You become a tzivas Hashem. You become a member of the army of God in plundering Egypt. So what does that mean to us? It means when you're interacting with the world, you use it, you win the war to conquer and get out of the prison of limitations of like your addictions or whatever we call them today. And you just have some discipline, you conquer. You're a soldier, tzivas Hashem. So tzivas Hashem means that you're conquering and bringing it into the domain of Hashem. You're the army of God, meaning you're conquering the world, you're interacting with the world in a way that God wants you to, like according to the general's plan, and you're conquering and therefore including that within God's domain and His sovereignty. But it says about v'yinatzlu es Mitzrayim, Shasa'u kemetzula she'en badagim. They left it. They're darshing the word v'yinatzlu. It doesn't mean they took all the spoils away from Egypt. It's like a metzula. It's a word for a net that you go fishing with. What do you mean that you plundered Egypt? You made it as if you had a net to take all the value out of the place, just like a sea that you took all the fish out of. Kemetzula she'en badagim, or they emptied it, meaning they took all from this net that was in the fish in Mitzrayim, so to speak, and you've taken everything. Kemtsuda she'en badagan. Mitzudas David uses the word Mitzuda. There's no grain in like a grain storage house because you've taken it all out, and therefore you've emptied the coarse aspect of the world of any kedusha, and so you had to go into that world, but you managed to maintain your dignity like a soldier. And that means that, so why does it give these two analogies? You've emptied it of fish and you've emptied it of grain, because each one, fish live in the water and you don't see what's from standing above, you don't see the fish there. It represents the concealed world, the spiritual realm that's difficult to, you got to put on good goggles when you're underwater to see. And especially when you're standing above and you're not even in the water, you're not going to see what's in it, so the fish are hidden from your eye. So fish represents the spiritual realm. And like a granary that's emptied of grain, that refers to the physical world. And by doing so, by involving yourself with the physical world and conquering it, you've just become elevated to the point of like, what does it say here? It says you're elevated. It goes on to say how. We'll get there maybe. Okay. So again, here we see the same theme of we said by the Iron Maiden, the Barzal, the Bilhas that come before the Rachels, because they represent bringing the importance of refining the lower experience. They had to marry the maidservants to represent the spiritual idea of elevating a lower experience, not just a spiritual world. So they have the 10 names of God, right? The 10th, all the 10s are holy. You have the 10th one, or the one that stands out, is Tzvois. Some don't say that word. It's one of the 10 names you're not allowed to erase. But every other name of God is God as he exists in the highest realm, where when he and his energy are one. But in the lower worlds, there's a separation to appear as if there's this distinctiveness between holiness and profanity, or something that's the opposite of that. Good morning. So, tzvois, the word for God's armies or hosts, indicates the same idea of shvachos, the idea that the main theater of engagement is the physical world. So it's the 10th name. Some people say there's an opinion that says that it's not one of those names that you can't erase. The word tzvois, when you call God the Lord of Hosts. This was introduced to the Jewish people by the prophets, not mentioned in the Torah, this name of God. And the Rebbe points out in Torah, the Alter Rebbe, that Hannah introduced this idea. She was davening to God with the name of Shem Tzvokos, when he's calling God that name. Introducing the idea and then becoming representative in general of the way the prophets would try and get the people in this world having problems accepting the terrorist Moshe Avdi, God's loyal servant Moshe, his Torah, to get the people who are having trouble following it inspired to go back to it. They would represent the idea of bringing godliness to those people who are rebellious. Remember the Talmudai in the streets, Talmudoi in the streets in the Hanukkah story, or in the Hanukkah, the halachas, the laws regarding Hanukkah. The rebels, until you light them, until the rebels are out of the streets, the legs of the rebels. Okay, so it's all about the engagement with the lowest in order to transform that and take it out like empty it of fish and grain, meaning the spiritual and the alma de scalia, the physical world. Here's the Rebbe explains what this accomplishes. You access God's victory. When you do this battle, when you fight as God's soldier, Ois B'tzava Delay, we call it, you're a sign amongst his hosts, or a soldier amongst his army. Good morning. So what do? When you do this Avodah, when you go into the world and conquer, what you do is you engage God's attribute of victory, Netzach, which is rooted in the very essence of one's soul. Revealed from the very essence of your soul. Okay, so 1 second, let me just read this. Shemidas Netzach Natur v'mushrash be'etzem nefesh. It's planted and rooted in the source of, in the essence of your soul. And for the sake of the victory in the battle, you access, you tap into your very core being when you're fighting a war. You want to be victorious. You're at war with your nefesh bahamas, the things that will bring you down in the world. That's what it means going into the lower realm. By engaging the attribute of victory, to want to conquer, which is conquering your nefesh bahamas. What you tap into is the very essence of God. Okay, the only aspect of godliness that's responsible for creating the physical world is the very essence of God. That's the garden that God wants to live in. Okay, so the Rebbe speaks about what aspect of your soul it's called B'min Nimlach. Who did God consult with when talking about creating the world? B'nishmasayim shel tzadikim, with the souls of the righteous, and all the Jewish people are called righteous. That before you were created, V'keidim kol seder ishtalshus, and before, preceding the entire seder ishtalshus, the entire existence, the highest level of existence to your shoelaces, she'edaisei nimlach, regarding which God consulted with your soul before you even created. Haya nechkach tzurasam ba'yisporach. Before they were created, the impression of you existed in God. Okay, and through your going into the world and conquering it, you reveal that B'min Nimlach. Who did God consult with? The aspect of you that was engraved in God's essence before you were created. God imagined His perfect precious and said, wouldn't it be great if I had my sister, my bride? This idea of the precious, the ultimate place where you feel at home, the Gani, the Ganuni, the Gaguyim. I call that Lady Gaga, but that's not for everybody. Okay, that's over the top. But the whole idea is it represents the idea of being at home somewhere is where you feel most expressive of who you really are. So when you make a dwelling place where you accept God for who He really is and say, God, whatever you want, that is the place I want to build for you. I want to be that for you. And then that sort of is like an invitation for God to give you all the power to succeed in doing that and be victorious in that. So I believe in the 11th parak, it speaks about how the king empties his treasuries to inspire the foot soldier, specifically the pawn on the chess set. He gives him the greatest treasures to inspire him. The Romans did something that resembles that. They had their golden banners of, eagles on the field. That was supposed to be a symbol of that. But here, we see a king is even willing to empty his treasuries and give away his precious treasures that he inherited from generations. Give that to inspire the foot soldier to be victorious. And that, I believe it says there that it's the secrets of the Torah and the Pnimis of Torah and the Chassidus that you learn. That is that inspiration. So, okay, this is our first step towards Basiligani. It's like the last step. Then you're coming down from the palace and going into this gazebo that's the bridal chamber. It's a really beautiful image. Okay, so I'm going to leave it with that, I think, this morning. The Aina Gaguyim Ganuni. Someone that's really speaks Ivrit should work on that with me, because that's obviously just bare bones. So yeah, it's just you should be familiar with the opening words of Basilagani Achesi Kala. The ECL Zeb Medrash Lagani Laganuni the Makam Shaya Ikri Betchila. Come to my garden, my sister, my bride. It says in Medrash, Lagani, what does it mean to my garden? It means Laganuni. Lamakam Shaya Ikri Betchila, where I was first in Gan Eden, when I was in the Garden of Eden, and I was that's where my whole attention was. And that's where I was the happiest, because He was there in the physical domain. Because the main presence of God, the main place where He was attentive, so to speak, whatever that would mean for an infinite mind, That's where he was mainly revealed. Or maybe mainly was. More than just revealed. Okay, so the sins pushed him back, and then we brought him back in, and the Torah mitzvahs is how you reconstruct that garden. So that's basically the message of Bas Lagani, and ultimately, the victory is, of course, when you're going to have Mashiach sitting on a throne. But what do we do about that? We don't just wave a magic wand or wave a flag. You work on yourself. You make the battle in where the Rebbe says the battle is against your nefesh habahamis, right? That's what you're supposed to be engaging and conquering. And that is what it means to bring that ultimate state of Mashiach. And then obviously there's going to be a Jewish king sitting on a throne. That will happen. But that's not your main concern. That's really, of course you're supposed to want that and long for that, of course. But what do you actually do about it? More than that? Like, okay, that's a good, let's say that's 20% of your day. So what do you do about that? You conquer yourself. Then you make a private domain, a garden for God. Trust me on that. Okay, just we'll learn Basi Lagan, you'll see. That's what it's all about. It's not about just saying, God, please give me Mashiach. That is very important. But it's about you taking that urgency and that desire and making Mashiach revealed in your world, which means be king of your world. Conquer your body and your nefesh bahamis. Don't be a slave to hamburgers or soup. Soup would be good, actually. Eat all the soup you want. The things that you just end up shove, like you see some people, like even like particular kids, sometimes they just like frenzy on, they feed on the food like in a frenzy. I was in a yeshiva where it came lunchtime, people ran and killed each other to get food that they didn't even want to eat anyways, and left it all on their plate. I'm about to get hit. Okay, no. Oh, I want to wish Rabbi Kiva Wagner a refuah shlema. Very serious, but we're going to. I should really get his name for everybody, but let's just see if I can do it on the fly. It's like his mother's name. I should really know it, shouldn't I? I never had to daven for him before. It's never. Okay, I don't have it on me right now. So we wish him a refuah shlema. We'll post the name. We should take up Tillim, it's being divided, so what could be a more important person for at least Toronto, if not the world, is a person like Rabbi Kiva Wagner. So our tefillahs go out for him. And so everyone have a great day, and I know it's early, this is not my usual time. New Seder. See if we can keep it up. Yes, please. You could Google it, you'll see it. It's on collive.com. Just type in Rabbi Kiva Wagner and you'll get it. And post it, someone should post it. Anyways, so refuah shlema and have a great day.